Why did Lady Death and Dark Winter get along so well? Because they both believe in love at first spray. Haha, dag joke of the day. What is spray and praying, dags? Today I'm going to be showcasing a dual wielding SMG build featuring Lady Death and the Dark Winter. Running both is like bringing two chainsaws to a knife fight. Overkill, but yet hilarious. If you're new to the channel, welcome to d.a.g Gaming. I'm your host NOX'S, where my favorite thing to do is respawn. With this build, we're going to be smacking enemies around while dishing out some serious critical hit damage. I got this build set up for my run and gun in your face playstyle, so keep that in mind because I have this build set up to the way that I like to play, but always feel free to change out the pieces to your desire. Stick around for after the build breakdown for some tips how I play this, but right now Lady Death is getting impatient, so let's get right into the build. Starting off with the specialization, I went with Sharpshooter, mainly to unlock my favorite skill this season, the Technician Drone. We're also going to get some stability, recoil reduction, and target requisitioning, while also getting access to one of my favorite grenades, the Flashbang. For the cores, I have 6 reds, 1 blue, and 1 yellow. I'm perfectly comfortable playing this loadout with all reds, but as always, feel free to mix and match as you wish. The star of the show is the one and only Queen, Lady Death, exotic SMG. I have it rolled with damage to target out of cover, the best in slot damage boosts for guns. It comes with the talent Breeze Free, which gives you 75% amplified damage rounds, and all you gotta do to get them is move around the field. And when you get a kill, you also get 20% movement speed for 10 seconds. With this and Rogue Momentum movement speed, you're gonna be zooming around the battlefield. A quick tip for building stacks is that you can actually split into your cover or into a wall, and as long as you're moving or sprinting, you're gonna build up some more stacks. These are the mods that come with the Lady Death. Notably, you get 15% critical hit chance and 10% critical hit damage, and a nice 500% melee damage to help you finish off those pesky NPCs when they're in your face. For my secondary, I have the PvP exclusive named Dark Winter SMG. I have it rolled with damage to target out of cover as well. It comes with the talent Perfect Killer, which gives you a massive 90% critical hit damage for 10 seconds if you kill an enemy with a critical hit. The 90% critical hit damage is definitely a nice chunk, and you'll definitely notice it once you get it proc. These are the mods that I have equipped for it, notably the 50% optimal range increase. This will allow me to shoot the Dark Winter and deal maximum damage at a greater distance because the optimal range on the vectors is pretty small, and having more optimal range on SMGs is actually an overlooked damage boost. With that mod and the face mask that we have, I'm sitting at 30 optimal range. Sitting at 30 optimal range is going to allow me to actually hit targets at a greater distance. This is going to give me more leeway in fights because I don't have to actually run up close and personal and can shoot enemies at a greater distance without worrying about my damage falling off. For my sidearm, I have the PvP exclusive Orbit. I have it roll with damage to target out of cover as well. It comes with the talent Perfect Finisher, which means if you kill somebody with the sidearm for 15 seconds when you swap to your primary or secondary, you're going to get 35% critical hit chance and 40% critical hit damage. This talent is definitely overlooked by a lot of people, but I really enjoy using it. This talent is awesome because it allows you not to have to stack your critical hit chance super high, and as long as you keep proccing Perfect Finisher, you're going to add a bunch of extra damage. And these are the two mods that I have equipped for it. For my first armor piece, I have the exotic Memento. It comes with all 3 cores, and I have it with a 12% critical hit damage armor mod. It comes with the talent Kill Confirmed, which is going to give us a short and long-term buff. This talent is definitely going to add us a bunch of extra weapon damage, give us some survivability and skill efficiency. You can stack the long-term buff to 30 stacks, and it lasts 300 seconds. And as long as you keep getting Kill Confirms and picking up the trophies, you're going to refresh at 300-second duration. For the face mask, I have the named Legatus Visionario, and the main reason why I'm using this is for that 50% optimal range that it comes with automatically, and I have it with critical hit damage and a 12% critical hit damage armor mod. The 30% swap speed that you get from the brand set bonus is also going to help me swap between the Lady Death, Dark Winter, and the Orbit. This piece is definitely a personal preference as it doesn't really add raw damage numbers that you can see, but like I said earlier, SMGs have a very short optimum range, but increasing optimal range actually increases the damage at longer ranges for the SMGs, as SMGs tend to have a steeper damage drop off at greater distances than normal guns. For the gloves, I have 1 piece of Grupo rolled with critical hit damage and weapon handling. For the knee pads, I have 1 piece of Palisades for the 10% armor on kill, and I have it rolled double crit. For the holster, I have my first of 2 pieces of the Sokolov. I have it rolled with weapon handling and critical hit damage. For the brand set bonuses, I get the 10% SMG damage and 13% critical hit damage. And finally, for the chest piece, I have my second piece of the Sokolov. I have it rolled with critical hit damage, weapon handling, and a 12% critical hit damage armor mod. For the talons, I'm rocking Obliterate. Obliterate is going to stack up super fast thanks to the SMG's high rate of fire, plus the rate of fire you get from Rogue Momentum is going to help you stack this up even faster. Before we get to the skills, let's take a look at Rogue Momentum. If you take a look at the 5th tier Unstoppable, you're going to see at the very end it says skill overcharge. So as long as you stay unstoppable, your skills are going to be overcharged, and it doesn't matter how many skill tiers you have, because as soon as you become unstoppable, your skills are going to benefit for whatever buffs they get from being overcharged. And some skills even have additional effects when they're overcharged. Another thing to keep in mind is you want to kill blacklisted enemies, because when you do, you're going to get a 15-second buff that's going to give you 10% critical hit chance and 10% weapon handling. For the first skill, I have the Crusader Shield. With what we just learned about Rogue Momentum, the goal is to stay overcharged, and when the shield's overcharged, it's going to get these massive buffs. Additionally, the shield is going to become invulnerable, meaning that the shield won't break ever, and it doesn't matter that we don't have any armor cores or skill tiers to boost the shield. And another cool thing to keep in mind is when your shield's invulnerable, when the elite shoots your shield, none of their damage is going to penetrate. And even when the elite shoots you in the head, the shield being invulnerable is actually going to stop that damage, which is pretty nutty, because as long as you keep your shield overcharged and then invulnerable, you're literally going to stop all damage, with the exception of explosions and status effect as always. And these are the mods that I have equipped for it. For my second skill, I have my favorite skill, the Technician Drone. This season, this thing is incredibly OP, because when it's overcharged, it's going to get a massive boost to its range, and it's going to keep constantly pulsing. And when you combo it with microwave coils, you're going to constantly apply crowd control and set enemies on fire with the burn. Pulses this season are really good for weapon damage builds, because when you pulse somebody with an overcharged pulse, you're going to apply weakness exploit, where you and your allies' damage is amplified by 15% to pulse targets. I personally think that this is best in slot for skills for any type of weapon damage builds. That 15% amplified damage is no joke, because it's a multiplicative damage that applies to all damage sources, to include even explosions and status effects. Like I said earlier, combo with microwave coils, you're going to constantly apply burn, which is going to stop enemies in tracks and leave them flailing in their arms. And enemies that are hiding behind cover are also just going to stand up when they get burned. The combo with Technician Drone and Microwave Coils is just too good of a combo to pass up for any weapon damage dealing builds. And these are the mods that I have equipped for it. For the active modifiers, you can use any of the 3 that you want. It don't really matter for this build. For the first passive modifier, I have Microwave Coils. I already explained how it works with the Technician Drone, but Microwave Coils is going to be our main source of momentum. But as long as you keep applying burn, which is going to be super often thanks to the short duration of the Technician Drone, you're going to gain 5 bonus momentum for every affected hostile. For the second passive modifier, I have Reaper Scan. This is going to give us more access to that blacklisted mark buff, which lasts 15 seconds and gives you 10% critical hit chance and 10% weapon handling. Finally, I have Critical Momentum, which is going to give us some momentum just from shooting our gun. For the stats with the Lady Death, we're sitting at 52% critical hit chance, but this will get capped when we get that blacklisted mark buff, or if we proc the perfect finisher talent from the orbit. For the critical hit damage, I'm sitting at 177, but I can get this up to 217 if I proc the perfect finisher from the orbit. For the Dark Winter, I'm sitting at 37% critical hit chance. It'll go up to 47% with the blacklisted mark buff, or it will go up to cap if I proc the perfect finisher talent. For critical hit damage, I'm at 187, but this will go up to 277 when I proc the killer talent, and I could get this number up to 317 if I proc the perfect finisher talent as well. I'm sitting at 95,000 armor on kill to help me stay alive, and we're also going to get some armor regenerations once we get our kill confirmed stacked up. If you're playing solo and you want more survivability, you can also run Emmeline's Guard. This SMG is actually pretty powerful and it has a massive magazine size. I have mine rolled with damage target out of cover. It comes with the talent Perfect Preservation, which gives you 15% armor over 5 seconds, while doubling it to 30% if you get a headshot kill. And those are the mods I have equipped for it. This build is definitely amazing and fun to run solo, but you can also play it in group play if you want. You're going to do some massive damage while being nice and safe behind your shield. While the Lady Death is an amazing SMG and hits hard, but isn't really not that great if you're fighting multiple waves of enemies like in missions, or if you're playing with multiple people where there's more enemy spawns at missions and in the open world. That's why I leave heavily also on my secondary SMG. The way I play with the Lady Death when I'm solo, I'll actually use the Lady Death more because there's less enemies, and those enemies take less bullets to take down, meaning that one magazine could take out multiple enemies, so I don't have to worry about us constantly restacking my gun. But when you're playing with multiple agents, the enemies get a bigger health/armor pool, meaning that it's going to take more of those brief restacks to take out one single enemy, and it's not always going to be ideal to empty your mag and then try to get more stacks by like running around or continuing to use the Lady Death while you're aiming down and shooting, as you'll gain some stacks but not really fast. What I do to help me combat this issue with the Lady Death in group play, once Once I dispense the magazine, I'll swap over to the Dark Winter, or I'll swap to the Orbiter to get a kill. That way when I swap to the Dark Winter, I'll get that extra critical hit chance and damage from Perfect Finisher, and I'll finish up that specific encounter with the Dark Winter. Once the specific threat is done, I'll swap back to the Lady Death and move to the next target if there's more targets, or to the next area of the mission or the next open world activity, allowing me to build up those breed free stacks again. That way I'll have them ready for the next encounter. That is how I like to play with the Lady Death, but like always, you're free to play however you please. Also, don't be afraid to get close and personal with this build because the shield is going to keep you alive. An Invariable Shield is a massive boost to your defense. The current season Burden and the Truth Rogue Momentum is awesome for these types of builds. The Rogue Momentum RPM buffs and movement speed buffs are really nice, allowing you to move around the field quicker than ever. That's all for my 2 cents, so let's head to the range because I know you all love to see those big floaty damage numbers. A cool tip that I like to tell people is that you can go to the shooting range and build up your momentum, and when you fast travel to a mission or an open world activity, that momentum you built up from the shooting range is going to follow you as well. And this is how the Technician Drone and Microwave Coils builds up your momentum. Just pull out the drone, and once it starts pulsing and applying burn, your momentum is going to skyrocket. Here's the damage you're going to do with the Lady Death. About 652,000. And here's the damage with the Dark Winter. So 406. And then 535 once you proc killer. Here's the damage with the Lady Death when you pulse somebody. Now we're doing 750,000. Here's the damage you're going to do with the Dark Winter when they're pulsed. About 613,000. Now see the damage when we proc Perfect Finisher. Go up to the Dark Winter. Proc. We're going to proc killer. Let's pulse. And now we're hitting for 678. Now let's do the same combo with the Lady Death. We're going to proc Perfect Finisher. Flop the Lady Death. Get some breed free bullet. I'm going to pulse. So now we're doing 858,000. Alrighty, Dags, hope you guys like my Lady Death Dark Winter SMG build. I'm really enjoying Burden and the Truth Rogue Momentum this season. The modifiers are awesome. Let me know what you guys think and what you will change about this build. If you're subscribed to my channel, thank you for subscribing. And if you're not yet subscribed, please take a second to subscribe. That way you can stay up to date to all my upcoming videos. I want to say thank you to the community for supporting my new small channel. You guys are awesome. That's all for now, and I'll catch you at the next one.